Have you ever experienced a God wink? You know, the kind of experience you know without a shadow of a doubt that God stepped in and gave you a big old wink from heaven. I'm your host, Cindy Spar, broadcasting from Office Evolution in Troy, Michigan. I am the founder of My Collective Network and My Christian Business Network, two amazing business networking organizations. I am a firm believer that there is power in sharing God wink stories. Think of it as a way for people to shine their light on Jesus, one wink at a time. In Matthew 5:14, it says, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven." Hello, everyone. This is Cindy Spar, your host of the God Wink podcast, and I am so excited for this episode y'all are about to hear. This good friend of mine that I was connected to virtually through a mutual friend of ours. Her name is Angel Wilborn, and she actually not only has her own podcast, but she's got her own biz, and it's just amazing to see what God is doing through her podcast and also through the gifts she has with helping people when it comes to PR and different areas like that. So, Angel, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Sydney. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I would love for you to share with our listeners a little bit more about you.
Okay, sure. So I am a wife. I've been married for 12 years. Celebrated our 12-year anniversary in October. We have a 9-year-old son who turned 9 in October. So October's a busy month for us. It's funny because his actual due date was actually 3 days after our anniversary. So I was like, I hope he doesn't come on our anniversary because I really don't want to share, but he decided to come. Everyone was like, it'll be so cool if he comes on y'all's anniversary. And I was like, no, it won't, because then we have to decide, do we do an anniversary trip or do we stay here and hang out with him for his birthday? So no, it won't be cool.
No.
So he decided to come earlier in the month on his granddad's birthday, which is my husband's father. So yep, worked out perfectly there.
Man.
Yes. And we love like having family game nights. We can be very competitive when it comes to our family game nights here. So, but we enjoy doing that. As you said, I am a podcast host. I actually host 2 podcasts. I just recently finished a very exciting Bible study, 6-week Bible study with some friends of mine. It was really cool. It was 5 habits that you can learn from. I'm messing up the title here, but it's basically like 5 habits that you can learn from the book of Ruth, and it was really good. So we did.
Really?
That.
Now you got me intrigued. We're gonna have to put some tidbits in the podcast notes.
Yes, I'm gonna have to like hop up and grab it or something like that so I can tell you the correct name, because it's the general basis of it, but not quite it. So podcast, Bible study, and just living life.
Well, you keep busy for sure. It's amazing. And one thing I really appreciated too when we connected was how podcasters get these opportunities to sharpen one another's saw. And we did a little bit of our own mastermind. I don't know if you remember this, but I said, hey, do you have like a podcast release form that people sign? And you're like, yeah. And I'm like, how do you digitize that for free?
I remember. And you're like, you're going to be my guinea pig for it. And sure enough, I think like the next day I got it. I was like, I was definitely her guinea pig. So how has it worked out? Have you tried it out on anyone else besides me?
Yes, it's working amazing. I literally get it back the day that I send it. And it just, thank you. I should have paid you for that consultation.
The first one's free. That one was on the house. Anything else I'll charge for. But I'm so happy that it worked. Yeah, I love just sharing, little tidbits and stuff, because it's stuff like we talked about. you don't think about it, or either you don't know about it. And there's like things out here that you can do for free, but sometimes as business owners, podcast hosts or whatever field we may be in, we're like, if we don't pay for it, then it's not right. And it's like, no, you can try it out for free. That's what free trials are for. And I love now that so many things are doing like free trials, or like what I told you about with JotForm, you get like X amount and you don't have to put a credit card in or anything like that. So that I love. So I'm glad it's working out for you.
Oh, it's so good. It's gotten to the point now. So those that are listening, JotForm is what Angel turned me on to, that they have a e-sign opportunity when you upload your template, say your podcast release form. I always ask too, I remember Angel, I was like, so what's the limit per month on that to keep it for free? Because you know what questions to ask.
Yes, because you have to be sure, because you don't want to send something out and then it's like, oh, this can't be signed. It's like, well, that's embarrassing. So yes, it's 10. I think it's 10 per month that you can get people to sign. So you just got to kind of spread them out there a little bit, but it works perfectly. It gets the job done and it saves you some money in the process.
Yeah. I was like, what episode a week is what I record? So I'm half of what my limit is. Same thing with StreamYard. You get so much amount a month.
Right.
I'm like, oh, we got this covered. I'm going to make this as free as possible on every platform I use.
Yes. I don't blame you. Because I use StreamYard too. And so I think last year for Black Friday, when they had their Black Friday sale, and it was like half off or something, it was really, really cheap. And I went in and I did it because I was bulk recording then. And I believe I had probably about 25 people that I had to record with. And I was like, okay, I'm going to need a little bit more space than what they give me in case I forget to download something or something crazy like that. So I did it, and I did it for probably, I maybe had like 4 months, and it was either $5 or $10 a month. I can't remember, but it wasn't too bad. But after I kind of slowed down with recording, I'm like, why do I still have this? That's $10 per month that I can save and spend on something else. So I canceled. I was like, I don't need the paid version anymore. Yeah. You got to learn to make things work for you and for your budget.
And Angel, I think too, I remember bringing this up, I think when we were on our call, is the day that I see podcasters like doing a mastermind event virtually or in person, I am all about it. Like I will be right there, because there's always opportunities where we can grow and, learn in the process and pay it forward to the other people that come that they didn't know about something that we're doing. So
yes. Because I think you told me, you was like, we need to do like an episode about like free tools and stuff like that you could use for your business and things. And I was like, I think I have that somewhere written down. I just have to find it.
Yeah. It's really helpful. Well, I would love for you to share a little bit about your podcast that you host. What's it all about? Why should our listeners be listening in?
Okay. So the first one that I host is called the Modco Podcast, and that one has been around since April of 2023. And it is about organization, entrepreneurship, and just kind of life in general. It talks about the realness of things, because I feel like so much time we get so much fluff. And my husband and I always joke about, we're like, TV just gave us such a illusion. Like TV just lied to us about what things are supposed to be like when you become an adult and when you grow up, and like how work is supposed to be and all of that. And so sometimes I think that we as people, we can get caught up in that, or we can get caught up in what we see on social media. And we have to remember that, we're on the outside looking in. We're only seeing what people want us to see. And so the Modco Podcast, it talks about organization. I've done episodes about financial organization, like how often you should look at your credit report, how you should start setting up for like budgeting. I've done episodes about organization and mental health, how it can affect your mental health, how you can declutter, how I've had a couple of therapists on there who talk about what like holding on to clutter means to you and like what it can say about you. And then also talk about entrepreneurship, mistakes that people have made when they started out on their entrepreneur journey, or mistakes they made while on their journey, things they wish that they had known before they started. And, it's kind of like how you said about us when we had our coffee chat, just talking about things that other people may not know about or may not be aware about, or just giving you that real raw side of it to say that, no, it's not like this. No, I didn't just have this idea and it went from in my head to this big platform and everything was perfect. And then it's just life in general. I've had some episodes, a lot of the women that I talk to, I've had two guys on the show. One guy, his episode has already aired. The other one, his will air in 2025. But all my other guests have been women. I did kind of want that guy perspective just to see like how they kind of thought. There's been a couple of episodes where I think like my kid ran into the room, and then me and one of the moms, we went off on like this 5-minute tangent about our kids. And at first I was like, I'm going to edit this out the episode. And I said, no, I'm not, because this is real life. And that's what we talked about in the episode. We're like, this is real life. Your kids come in, they interrupt you like this, this happens. Another time, another time I was like recording with a mom, and she had two kids. Her kids were like 2 and I think 10. And then my son was home, and her daughter, her 2-year-old, kept like coming into the room or something like that. She kept trying to mute it. I'm like, you don't have to mute us. I was like, y'all, between the two of us, we have 3 kids running around here. Yeah. Somebody's kid is going to come in at some point in time. And so it's just the realness and the rawness and the funness of it, because I feel like so many times with podcast hosts and everything, they try to keep everything so perfect and they try to edit out every little thing. And I tried that when I first started, and it stressed me out and I almost wanted to quit. So I was like, no, this show is about being real. It's about being authentic. This is what you're going to get. So it's just a fun show. It gives you tips on organizing, tips on like being an entrepreneur. Like I said, just life in general. Even if you're not an entrepreneur, or even if you have no aspirations to be an entrepreneur, you can still find value in the episode, because we talk about putting systems in place. We talk about creating schedules. We talk about balancing stuff, work-life balance. So even if, like I said, if you're not an entrepreneur and you work a 9 to 5, we can talk about ways that you can balance that, ways that you can work your 9 to 5 and become an entrepreneur, like just all the things. And so it's a really fun show. I really think that people enjoy it. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on that one. So
I love it. I want to go back to your declutter topic for a minute. This past weekend, I was cleaning the house, and that visually when you look in a room, your space, and you're just like, oh, like yes. The floor was covered with books people have given me, because I know a lot of authors, and they're like, here, have my book. And I'm like, if I only read at the pace that I'm receiving these books. Right. And so they were like covering the floor and just disorganization. And so I'm like, that's it. I'm gutting it right now. I'm going to like organize the whole thing. And it's funny because when you've done that, you want to tell everybody and their mother to come check out your masterpiece afterwards, right? I'm like, look at this. Isn't it nice? And my husband's like, who cares? Like, what's the big difference? I'm like, no, do you understand? Do you know the before and after, right?
Right.
He's like, whatever.
It's like, it frustrates me because I'm like the organized person in the house, and I like to do what I call rage organizing. So I think one day, maybe about a month or so ago, I don't know what was wrong. It was just, you have those days where you're just like, I just feel blah. And I'm just like, whatever. So I'd always tell people organizing is my happy place. Like it makes me happy. Some people see organization like, I'm like, yes, bring it on. And so I was just completely blah that day. So I turned on like my praise and worship music. And I remember I was trying to put something in the hall closet, and that just made me even madder because the hall closet was a mess. So I pulled everything out of there and I started like reorganizing it, and I got it all nice and pretty. And I took a picture of it and I sent it to my husband, and he's like, oh, wow, that looks really good. I said, it does look really good, and nobody better not touch it. If y'all want anything out of here, let me know. If you need to put anything in here, let me know. But nobody is to go in here. I think that lasted probably like all of 3 days.
Yeah.
Maybe. So I was like, I tried. I tried. But so I'll probably go back in there and organize it again. But yeah, that's me. I feel you on that one. I love it. It's like everybody needs to see this. Like they have to see this now. And my cousin, she declutters her closet. I feel like it's at least once a year, but she called me yesterday. She said, I know you're getting ready to walk into work, but really quick, I'm getting ready to declutter my closet and I just don't know where to start. She's like, I need some place to start. I said, well, let's start with stuff that you can't fit anymore. She's like, okay. And then where do I go from there?
75% of the closet.
Right. Probably so. Probably so. I said, and then go to stuff that you haven't worn in over a year. I said, and also, didn't we just declutter this closet like 2 years ago? Why is it back messy again? Like, she's like, I like to buy clothes. I said, well, let's stop because
we're going to call we call it the purge. This is the purge.
The purge. We shouldn't have to purge your closet every 2 years. This is ridiculous. Get it together. Get it together.
So good.
Yes.
Well, we're just going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor. But when we come back, Angel, I would love for you to share with our listeners your God wink story.
Okay.
So listen in, give us 1 minute, and we will be right back with you.
Hey, Godwink fam, this is Cindy Spar, your host of the Godwink podcast. I want to take a moment to tell you about My Christian Business Network, a business networking organization I founded in the summer of 2022. I have always been passionate about building a community where faith and business unite for a purpose-driven approach to success. We're a unique organization on a mission to bring together believers in business, helping professionals like you achieve success with Christ at the center. Whether you're looking for new clients, partners, or simply the support of a like-minded network, we've got you covered. Our networking groups meet monthly in Richmond, Clinton Township, Shelby Township, and Clarkston, giving you the opportunity to build connections in your local community. And if you're looking to make connections faster, don't miss our monthly speed networking events in Clinton Township, Richmond, Oxford, and Hazel Park. These events are designed to help you make meaningful connections quickly. But that's not all. We offer over 40 professional development workshops each year, providing you with the tools, insights, and inspiration you need to grow your business with purpose. So what are you waiting for? Whether you're a member or simply curious to see what My Christian Business Network is all about, everyone is welcome. Join us and experience networking that's more than just business. It's about fellowship, support, and shared faith. To learn more, visit mychristianbusinessnetwork.com or click the discovery link in today's podcast notes, and a member of our team will be delighted to connect with you. Come and see how My Christian Business Network can empower your business journey with faith, purpose, and community.
Welcome back, everyone. I am here with Angel, and Angel is going to share with us her God wink that no matter what she knew, it was her Heavenly Father that was winking at her from heaven on this instance. So, Angel, share with us one of your God winks.
Okay, well, Cindy, before I share the God wink, while we were on break, I pulled up the book that I was telling you about, because if not, I would have completely forgot about it. So it is called A Woman Who Doesn't Quit, 5 Habits from the Book of Ruth. And I got it off of Amazon, and it's by Nikki Koziarz.
Spell it.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not even gonna try to say that and mess it up and butcher it. I'm not gonna do it, so I'm just gonna spell it out. But that was the book. So yes, so God winks. So in my intro, I actually forgot to mention that I am also an author. I released a book in May of this year. It is a 16-day devotional and fasting journal called Fear and Forgiveness. And that book was definitely a God wink, because to this day, I still don't know where it came from. I do not know how I managed to produce it. It's just here. And it was so a God wink. So I started writing it in I wrote it in July of 2023. And maybe about 2 weeks before I started writing, 2 or 3 weeks, I went to a retreat. Me and my mom, we went to a retreat. And at the retreat, they kept talking about like having water walking faith and talking about when Peter got out the boat to walk to Jesus, and just talking about like having water walking faith and talking about like that story from Matthew and really like honing in on Matthew. And I was like, okay. And then we also talked about the story where the men are out fishing and they're not catching anything, and Jesus says go back out, and then they caught a whole bunch of fish. Those were two things that we kind of really like talked about a lot. So I come back from the retreat and my son's getting ready to go to Vacation Bible School, and the night before they always do, it's Tuesday through Friday, but that Monday night they always do like a family night. And so the pastor starts preaching, and he's basically in so many words saying have water walking faith. And I'm just like, oh, okay. I was like, kind of just heard this. I was like, all right. So then the next Sunday we go to church and he's talking about Joshua. I believe it's Joshua. Okay. So I don't know my Bible like that. So maybe this is Joshua when he's telling them to march around 7 times and then shout. So he talks about that. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm taking my notes and everything. Then the next night, my son and I are doing his kids' Bible. We're reading the daily words out of it. Or maybe it's like a couple weeks later, we're like reading the words out of reading it. And I see the same story again. I was like, I just heard this story somewhere. Like, where did I hear this story at? And so I'm racking my brain and I was like, I think I heard it at church. And so I ran back and I looked at my notes and I was like, I did hear it at church. And I think I was reading another devotional at that time. And that devotional had also talked about it. I was like, okay, this is really weird. Like, this is strange. And then God was like, and so I was like, I'm going to fast. I said, I'm going to fast. So I started my version of what I call fasting. And I think 2 days into it, I said, I don't think I'm doing this right. And so I reached out to someone who I knew who's a pastor. And she's like, I'm going to send you this video on fasting. First, I wasn't going to watch the video because it was about 2 hours long. And my attention span is very short. And it was a YouTube video. And I was like, why couldn't she have just broken this video down for me and told me what was going on in the video? Like, she knows that my attention span is super short. I had one question and now I got this 120-minute video I got to watch. So I watched the video and I broke it down just into smaller parts to keep up with my attention span. And I was like, I've been doing this fasting thing all wrong. And then God was like, okay, great. Now that you realize that, you're going to write a book about fasting and fear and forgiveness. I was like, who's writing this book? And he was like, you. I was like, God, I think you got the wrong person. Like, I don't know if you mixed up your lines of communication, but you can't possibly talk to me. He was like, yeah, I'm talking to you, and you're going to write this book and it's going to be finished by the end of July. By this point, it's like the second week of July. I said, you do know it's about 2.5 weeks. He's like, yep. I'm like, cool. Okay. So what am I supposed to do here? And he's like, just start writing. And I was like, all right. So that was like the first time that I had probably like really dug deep into my Bible. So I have like all these Bibles and stuff like sitting out all around me. I don't know what I'm doing, but it was just it was one of the easiest things that I've ever done. Like, I have tried to write before and I've always struggled with it. I've always just started and then kind of put it down and came back to it a year later and then put it down. But this was so easy. I had no problem like writing it or anything like that. And it just flowed so naturally. And so all of that I felt like came from these God winks that I had about the water walking faith and then about marching 7 times and shouting. And I just feel like once I was done with it, he was kind of like, see, I told you. And I just feel like he kind of just winked at me and just walked off to go do whatever it is that God does, you know, when you listen to him.
Yeah. Did you feel like, I don't know. Have you ever had it to where you feel like he's speaking stuff to you and you can't write fast enough?
Yes. I was like, hold on, slow down. And then I'd be like driving or something. And I'm like, ooh. So I'm using like talk to text to try to make sure that I don't forget what it is that I'm supposed to say. And I had all these little like notes everywhere. It was just like sticky notes everywhere and little pieces of paper. And as soon as I'm trying to look up one thing, he's like, oh no, but wait, what about this? And so I'm trying to flip to the next thing. I'm like, I can't catch up with you right now. Please give me a minute. Like, I know you know what you want from me, but I don't know what you want. And you told me to do steps 1 through 3, and now you jumped to step 10, and I'm still on 2. Can we slow it down just a little bit, please? Yes, I definitely feel like that.
Man, it's great. I've had times too where I'm like, I just need to voice what I'm hearing right now because I can't keep up with writing it. And then when I lose it, I'm praying, God, bring it back.
Cindy, that happens to me all the time. So I always say that my best ideas come to me either when I'm in the shower or either at like between 12 a.m. and 3 a.m. when I should be asleep. And I don't want to pick my phone up because I'm like, if I pick my phone up, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole of stuff that I'm not even supposed to be doing or paying attention to. And so I'm just like, dear God, please let me remember this in the morning. Dear God, please let me remember this in the morning. And then I wake up in the morning, I'm like, okay, God, what was it that I was supposed to be doing? And then it's just gone. And I'm like, oh, or I'll have a dream that's just so vivid. And I'm like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm usually really good at like remembering my dreams, like down to details of what people are wearing in my dream. But whenever I have these dreams, I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to do something with that dream. And I can't remember it to save my life. I'm like, well, what happened? Like, it was clear as day.
Yeah.
I don't know what he has going on, but I'm just trying to follow him and, stick with it and wait until he's ready to show me what's going on. Cause he told me that sometimes too. Like, are you going to tell me what the plan is here? And he's like, nope. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
okay.
Total quietness. Remembering God winks. Like, do you ever write them down when they happen?
I do. So another God wink that I kind of had was maybe about 2.5 years ago. I wrote down in my notes section, getting back to God. Like, it just kept popping in my head, like getting back to God, getting back to God. And I was like, okay, my God, what do you want me to do with this? Like, what am I supposed to be doing with this? And it was just quiet, like nothing. And then maybe earlier this year, in the last year, maybe, I don't know, can't remember exactly when it was, but I was just having like a rough time and I was just like, ugh. And then it popped in my head and it was like, I was listening to something or watching something or something like that, and it was like, getting back to God. It's like you've strayed from God and you need to get back to God. And I felt like, I was like, oh, that was a wink right there. Okay,
Yeah.
I got you. I was like, you had me write this down 2.5 years ago because you knew that I would need this. So yes,
Yeah.
I definitely do. Sometimes I write them down before I even know what they are, but I do write them down when they happen as well.
Yeah, I think we all have those too, like getting back to God situations where, you go from spending time daily to, oh, now, I haven't talked to you for like 5 days or sometimes 2 weeks. And I would date my journal so that I, would know, geez, it's been 2 weeks or it's been a week since I've spent some good quality time.
Yep. I did that the other day, actually, because I date my journal too. And I was looking and I was like, I looked at the date that was in there and I was like, let me look down at the date on my phone. I was like, ooh, it's been like a week, a couple of days. But then I'm like, well, I still talk to you. I'm like, I don't, sit down and write my journal every day. I was like, well, we have conversations frequently. Does that count? Like, I'm trying to.
Right.
Written, I have talked to you, though I haven't completely, disengaged. So I try to, I go through that in my mind as well.
Oh, well, I cannot believe how quickly time has went by, but I want to make sure that you share with our listeners how they can best connect with you.
Okay. Yes, definitely. So you can connect with me on Instagram, hang out there a good bit. It's at the Modco SC, and then or also my other podcast Instagram page, which is at What's in Your Toolkit. That's my PR podcast. And if you would like to connect with me on LinkedIn, I'm Angel Wilborn on LinkedIn. But yeah, I usually spend most of my time on Instagram and LinkedIn.
Awesome. Oh, there's one I forgot. I did not find out. What is your favorite scripture? What is the scripture that was meant for Angel?
No, it's meant for Angel. Okay, so I keep a list of all of my scriptures here, and so I actually have 2. So one of them actually came from when I was writing my book, And it's Exodus 4:11. Then Moses said to the Lord, "O my Lord, I am not eloquent, neither before nor since you have spoken to your servant, but I am slow of speech and slow of tongue." So the Lord said, "Who has made man's mouth, or who makes the mute, the deaf, the seeing, or the blind? Have not I the Lord?" And so that one really spoke to me when I was writing the book, because I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing over here. And my other one is Matthew 6:27. Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? And I have to pull that in when I start to freak out and worry and try to control everything that's going on around me.
Yeah, it's kind of like brings you back down to peace.
Yes, yes. A little bit,
Well,
yes.
it has been such a blessing to have you on today, Angel. Thank you so much for sharing with us your God Wink story. And listeners, I highly recommend you check out her podcasts. We will have the links listed within the podcast notes, as well as where you can find the book that she had mentioned for Bible study. We'll put that link in. And also the publication you did, Angel, where God showed you that you are meant to create that publication on fasting, fear.
Fear, fasting, letting go of fear, and learning how to forgive people. Yes.
Yes. Well, good stuff. Well, listeners, I invite you to listen in on the next God Wink. And if today's episode resonates with you, or you think it'll resonate with someone you know, please share the link for today's episode with your peers, and also feel free to comment within our Facebook community for the God Wink podcast. Other than that, guys, be blessed, and we will catch up with you next time.
I want to give a big thank you to Office Evolution Troy for providing their podcast studio for us this afternoon to record. If you have any questions, or you would like to book your own time in their podcast studio, give them a call at 586-788-9966. If today's God Wink story really hit home with you, we would love to hear about it through the God Wink community on Facebook. If you know of someone that needs to hear today's God Wink story, show them some love and tag them on the God Wink podcast. You never know how a God Wink story might change their day around for the better. If you or someone you know has a God Wink story that the world needs to hear, we want to hear it. Simply click the link within the podcast notes to send in your God Wink story. Until next time, remember, God's got you. Wink, wink.